In 1976, 91% of Americans called themselves Christian. Today, that number is 62%. That's not a small dip. That's tens of millions of people quietly walking away from a faith that once defined an entire civilization. And the strangest part? Most of them didn't leave angry. Most of them just drifted. So what's happening? Is this a crisis? A collapse? Or something more complicated? Today, we're going to find out. Let's start with the facts, because the numbers are striking. In 2007, the Pew Research Center conducted its first major religious landscape study. At that point, 78% of American adults identified as Christian. By 2014, it dropped to 71%. By 2020, 64%. The latest study, conducted across 37,000 Americans in 2023 and 2024, landed at 62%. That's a 16 percentage point drop in less than 20 years. But here's where it gets interesting. The free fall may have stopped, at least for now. Pew says the decline appears to have leveled off since around 2020. The number has held between 60% and 64% for the past 5 years. So is this good news? Well, sort of, because while the number of people calling themselves Christian has stabilized, the quality of belief is a different story. The share of Christians who say they believe in God with absolute certainty dropped from 80% in 2007 to 73% today. Church attendance is down. Daily prayer is down. Evangelical conviction is down. The label is surviving, but the faith, in many cases, has quietly hollowed out. And it's not just America. In France, people identifying as Catholic dropped from 81% in 1986 to 47% in 2020. Germany? Only 48% of its population identify as Christian today. In Scotland, for the first time ever, the majority of people now have no religious affiliation at all. Something is shifting across the Western world. And the question is, why? Reason number 1. Science. Barna Group, one of the leading research organizations on American religion, has been tracking this for decades. And consistently, one of the top reasons young people give for leaving Christianity is this belief. Faith and science cannot coexist. 3 out of 10 young adults with a Christian background say they feel churches are out of step with the scientific world. 1 in 4 says they see Christianity as actively anti-science. And this isn't just about evolution. It's about the internet. For most of human history, if you had a doubt about your faith, you had to process it in isolation. Maybe you'd find a book. Maybe you'd talk to your priest. But information was limited and slow. Today, a teenager in rural Oklahoma who starts asking questions about Genesis can, within minutes, access Richard Dawkins, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and thousands of ex-Christians sharing their deconstruction journeys on TikTok, where the hashtag #XChristian has been viewed nearly 700 million times. The internet didn't create doubt, but it supercharged it. And here's the philosophical layer to this. It's not just that science contradicts some church teachings. It's that science offers certainty. You can test it. You can see results. It welcomes questions, encourages skepticism, and updates itself when it's wrong. For a generation raised on Google, a faith that says, just trust, without evidence, without engagement, can feel deeply unsatisfying. Reason number 2. Trust has collapsed. According to Pew Research's 2025 follow-up study on why Americans leave their childhood religion, 32% of those who left cited scandals involving clergy or religious leaders as an important reason. And this makes sense when you look at the scale of what happened. In the last 2 decades, the Catholic Church alone has spent nearly $8 billion in legal settlements related to clergy abuse cases. Thousands of victims. Decades of institutional cover-ups. And when the stories broke, they didn't break slowly. They exploded across every news channel, every social media feed, every dinner table conversation. But it wasn't just the abuse. It was the response to the abuse. Churches that prioritized protecting their reputation over protecting children. leaders who were quietly relocated rather than prosecuted, victims who were silenced, disbelieved, or shamed. For many people, especially those who grew up inside these institutions, it wasn't just a betrayal of trust. It was a spiritual wound. If God's representatives on earth can do this, what does that say about the institution claiming to speak for God? And it wasn't only Catholics. Protestant churches have had their own waves of pastoral misconduct, financial fraud, and abuse cover-ups. The pattern repeated itself across denominations. When your faith is also your community, your identity, and your moral foundation, and that community betrays you, walking away isn't just leaving a religion, it's rebuilding your entire sense of who you are. Of 2022. Reason number 3. The church got political. Reason number 3. The church got political, and people noticed. A comprehensive 2022 study of 1,200 people who left Christianity found something surprising. The number one trigger that first made people start doubting? Not science, not abuse scandals. It was the church's position on LGBTQ+ people. Now, here's the nuance. The majority of the people surveyed were straight. They weren't personally affected by rejection. But when they were told they couldn't love, support, or affirm their gay friends and family members, they started asking hard questions about a faith that preached love while practicing exclusion. And for many, that contradiction was the crack that let everything else in. Add to that the deep merger between evangelical Christianity and partisan politics, particularly in the United States, and you have a recipe for alienation. Over 80% of white evangelicals voted for Donald Trump in 2016 and again in 2020. For people who saw that as a moral inconsistency, it forced a reckoning. Is this religion about God, or is it about power? And Pew's data shows the impact. In 2007, 2/3 of politically liberal Americans identified as Christian. Today, only about 1/3 do. The link between faith and political identity has driven a massive sorting, and Christianity came out on the losing end, with younger, more progressive Americans. But here's the reason that doesn't make headlines. The quietest one, and maybe the most honest. According to Pew's most recent study, 46% of people who left their childhood religion said they simply stopped believing in the religion's teachings, and 38% said they just gradually drifted away. No scandal, no argument, no dramatic moment of rejection. They just slowly grew up, got busy, moved cities, stopped going, and one day realized they hadn't thought about faith in months, or years. This is what researchers call de-churching. It's not atheism. It's not agnosticism. It's something quieter and harder to measure. An indifference that accumulates slowly, like dust. And this points to a deeper philosophical question. What does religion actually do for people? It provides community, meaning, a moral framework, a sense of belonging, a narrative that says your life matters, that you are known, loved, and not alone in the universe. The problem is, modernity has started offering competing answers to all of those needs. You can find community online. You can build meaning through work, family, or activism. You can access therapy, philosophy, mindfulness, a whole ecosystem of secular alternatives. What religion used to have as a monopoly on human meaning-making, it now has to compete for. And many churches haven't adapted. As sociologist Stephen Tipton puts it, many young people see organized religion as imposing too many rules and claiming too much truth in the name of God. They want spirituality, but on their own terms. Here's the twist most people don't see coming. Even as traditional church structures struggle, something else is happening beneath the surface. Barna Group's latest data shows that 66% of American adults say they've made a personal commitment to Jesus that still matters to them, up from 54% in 2021. Among Gen Z men specifically, commitment to Christianity jumped 15 percentage points between 2019 and 2025. In the UK, Bible engagement among 18 to 24-year-olds has reportedly jumped from 4% in 2018 to 16% in 2024. Jordan Peterson's YouTube series on Genesis has been watched by tens of millions. The Chosen, a crowd-funded drama about the disciples, became one of the most watched streaming series in the world without a major network behind it. Something is stirring. Not a revival, not a return to Christendom, but a quiet curiosity. A generation that walked away from the institution is beginning to ask questions about the man at the center of it. Maybe the building is emptying, but the story isn't over. So what's really happening to Christianity? It's not being destroyed by atheism. It's not being replaced by science. It's being reshaped by a generation that was burned by institutions, overwhelmed by information, and left spiritually hungry, but deeply suspicious of anything that claims to have all the answers. The question was never really, is God real? For most of the people who left, the question was, is this version of God worth believing in? And for millions of people in the modern world, the answer, at least for now, has been no. What do you think? Is Christianity in decline, or just transforming? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because next week, we're going even deeper.